Your sibling's baby celebration is the household's main focus. We won't attend your marriage, mother declared. I responded, no problem. They were clueless that I possessed a $2 million beachside estate in Maui. Upon viewing the images of our ritual, they were left gasping. I received 101 unanswered calls. My name is William. I'm 36, the eldest, the reserved type, the person who handles all the documents since you're skilled with figures. I'm in banking. I review financing contracts for enjoyment, organize expenses by color, and maintain an overly intense bond with data tables. In my household, that means one label. I'm the mobile cash machine with a heartbeat. Father labels me dependable. Mother labels me trustworthy. My junior sister Hannah contacts me when her funds drop to $12.47 and lease is owed the next day. My junior brother Jake contacts me when his visionary enterprise idea is almost there, man, and requires $8,000 by weekend. So during marriage preparations, I went out of my way to simplify things. I selected a date free from festive conflicts. I provided everyone a full year's advance. I even proposed to fund airfare for my parents if assistance was required. 2 weeks prior to the event, I phoned mother simply to verify. I was in my workspace, gazing at a display of business money movements, attempting to ignore placement arrangements. She skipped greetings. Your sibling's baby celebration is the household's main focus. We won't attend your marriage, mother declared, steady, decisive. I glared at the device as if it had misstated her. It's the identical weekend? I inquired. It turned into the identical weekend, she answered. Such matters occur. You understand how vital this is for Hannah. Initial child, we must back her. Understood, I stated. Avoid exaggeration, William. We'll dispatch a present. No problem, I responded. I held back the remainder. Every address I'd practiced since age 12 about ranking second. I avoided debate. I avoided pleading. I avoided detailing payments, suppliers, or the subtle manner my partner, Mara, eyed the vacant spot beneath household seating. I simply concluded the conversation, flipped my device screen down, and inhaled. Opposite the table, my helper glanced in. All okay, relatives, I stated. I wish I could claim I wept. I didn't. I became extremely motionless, like a financial index just before it plummets. In the household messaging group, Hannah messaged, baby celebration will be charming. Motif tiny sunlight. Can all bring a volume instead of a greeting? Father responded with fireworks. Mother sent 3 affections. Nobody referenced my marriage. I entered nothing. I had already resolved my approach. They assumed I would implore. They assumed I would bargain. They were unaware of my intentions. And they truly were unaware of our marriage location. I simply allowed the input indicators to fade. I didn't transform into the household financier suddenly. It began modestly. At 18, I secured my initial trainee role at a local finance institution. My earnings covered fuel, study materials, and the residence reserve, which was mother's term for essentials minus the snacks I wasn't permitted to purchase. When Hannah's activity dues were pending, I stepped up. When Jake's team excursion needed an advance, I proposed. By graduation, it wasn't generosity, it was routine. Household supports household, father would declare, which oddly meant I supported all, and all supported offering views. When I entered trade financing, the figures grew larger, so did the demands. I assisted restructuring the residence when father's shifts were reduced. I jointly signed Hannah's final term when she changed from healthcare to media studies, since practicals are harsh. I funded Jake's next genuine attempt at a venture, an online shop selling foreign beans he avoided. When it collapsed, he faulted delivery costs. Whenever I paused, mother crafted a phrase that cloaked remorse in velvet. You're fortunate, William. Not all receive what you possess. You must return to your kin. What I possessed, a compact flat with a shaky table and a vehicle that ignited on the 3rd attempt. What I possessed was the restraint to reject trendy meals and accept retirement plans. I wasn't fortunate. I was dull. Finance firms adore dull. A few years later, I advanced. I shifted to a bigger workspace with transparent barriers and a greenery I sustained via alerts. I began advising externally, fully compliant. All reported to aid minor ventures arrange obligations correctly. It compensated nicely. I avoided sharing online. I avoid sharing anything. My household presumed my earnings were shared asset. Hannah began seeing a man named Kyle who gathered footwear and invalid payments. They wed after a rapid year. He misplaced his position twice. Every difficulty landed in my messages. Will, could you simply handle lease this period? We'll repay when refunds arrive. Hannah messaged. Refunds didn't arrive for them. They skimmed and continued. I attempted limits. I truly did. I dispatched data tables. I recommended spending plans. I purchased Hannah a guide on gradual progress and debt reduction. She called it patronizing. Last season, father phoned me from the vehicle lot. We located a sturdy vehicle for your sibling, he stated, tone cheerful. We're slightly lacking on the initial payment, merely $4,000. View it as your offering to the infant. I had already dispatched a carrier and a year's supplies, I stated. He exhaled. Funds are merely an instrument, child. It's my instrument, I stated, and he disconnected. 3 days later, I discovered my identity was on the financing regardless. Father knew a contact. My rating suffered. I locked my records and contacted the institution. It was chaotic. We resolved it after 7 days. The discussion with mother was the harshest. You're complicating this, she stated. We required a fix. You performed deception, I stated. Strong term, she answered. Household avoids legal against household. I didn't. I did, however, cease Sunday visits. Then arrived the marriage. Mara and I had been paired for years. She is the steadiest individual I know, a numbers instructor who values fresh starts and inexpensive brew. She observed me bear my household like an extra role and never suggested release them. She simply redirected me to the figures. What's the trend? She'd inquire, and I'd display her my transfer record like a pulse monitor surging each time Hannah messaged. We maintained the marriage modest. Limited attendees, no issues. My sole demands to my household were timely responses and zero fund requests the week of. The baby celebration approached. Initially, it was end of warm season. Abruptly, it was my marriage weekend. Hannah shared soft color schemes and a stack of treats. Mother wrote, Hannah's occasion will be enchanting. When I courteously noted the date, she answered, you can arrange marriages anytime. Infants are unique. Isn't the infant due in 3 months? I inquired precisely, she stated, as if she'd secured a strategy game. Then the messaging group muted about my marriage, except for Jake's note. Man, if you stream it, share the connection. We'll watch amid matches. Father added, we'll be present in essence. I eyed the vacant household section on our placement map and felt foolish for astonishment. Meanwhile, the fun demands persisted. Hannah desired a luxury celebration with tailored items, inflated setups, and a capture specialist. She dispatched me a roster titled, Since you can't deliver a dish with costs noted. Mother followed with an audio message. William, avoid smallness. You earn high figures, it's trivial to you, and consider the appearance. A financier who fails to aid his sibling's infant. I nearly chuckled. Appearance. The week prior to the marriage, my plastic flagged a deception warning. Someone attempted to include an extra user to my private profile. Guess whose address was on the application? Kyle's. The institution detected it, undid it, and inquired if I knew the contact number. I did. Hannah's. I inhaled into my palms and stared upward. I wished to assume it was an error. It wasn't. I phoned. She responded on shared audio, gathering sounds behind. What? She stated. You attempted to place Kyle on my plastic. Ease up. She stated, it failed anyway. And Mother stated, I'm not your institution. I stated. She mocked. You wouldn't exist where you are without us. That phrase, the household legend, as if their requirements shaped me. So now, I owed them returns eternally. I informed her I'd meet them at the marriage if they reconsidered. She informed me the baby celebration image station would be wild. She disconnected to select shiny letters. I remained with the stillness. Mara placed her palm on my arm. What do you wish to do? Nothing, I stated. Not with them. What about us? She inquired us. I finally grinned. The tipping point didn't occur on a conversation. It occurred in a bright cooking area with citrus cloths and a container of lemons that were artificial. I'd visit my parents' residence to leave the marriage outline, a politeness. I discovered the mid-creation line for the baby celebration items. Small containers of nectar with, infant labels. Father avoided eye contact. Mother did. If you arrive to regret, I approve, she stated as if I'd erred. For what? I inquired, for complicating this. I placed the outlines on the surface. I'm here to leave these and to clarify one matter absolutely. William, she stated, sweet edge in her tone. This isn't the moment. It's precisely the moment. Hannah entered, one palm on her swell, the other on her device. If you're not supplying the bubbly station, at least avoid ruining the mood. I chuckled. It emerged pointed. Correct, she flipped her sight. Why are you acting thus? It's not our error you selected a weekend that failed. I provided you the date a year prior. Existence occurs, Mother stated, already uninterested. I retrieved my binder. Yes, I carried a binder. I'm a tedious individual who carries proofs. I pushed a printed record across the surface. Dates, sums, notes, digital sends, papers, bank moves. 7 years of merely this instance. Here's all I've handled for this household, I stated. Residence installment during father's pause, study catch-up, Jake's lease when he was removed, Hannah's health charge in 2021, the journeys for our last festive, the unexpected vehicle initial that somehow used my rating without inquiry, the financing for the bean venture, the extra charges no one ever noticed. Father's face stiffened. Mother avoided the sheet. This isn't just, she stated. It's truth, I stated. And here are 2 additional. 1. I'm finished supporting anything I didn't select myself. 2. If you or your partners attempt to include yourselves to any of my profiles again, I will submit official reports. That covers you, Hannah. That covers you, Father. You wouldn't, Father stated. I would, I stated steady. because I'm not your debtor, I'm your child, and I'm marrying. Hannah exhaled sharply. To that instructor who creates short videos about divisions, Tamara, I stated. And irrespective of your view of her role, she's the sole person here who hasn't viewed me like a payment device. Quiet. Then Mother grasped for the record with 2 digits like it was soiled. Do you seek an award? I seek limits. You seek dominance, she retorted. You always have. This is you retaliating because your sibling's occasion counts more currently. Your sibling's occasion, Hannah repeated like a refrain. I pocketed my keys. My marriage counts. And if you opt not to attend, that's an option you endure, not me. Mother's lips thinned. You're going to remorse this. I won't, I stated. One additional, cease claiming you can't manage journeys. I proposed to fund your passages months prior. Not 2, she began, then halted. Her sight shifted, assessing. She was unaware of the actual marriage site. None were. Because I never included the site in the messaging group. I'd posted invitations with specifics, traditional way. They never unsealed the packages. Hannah shook her device. Just share the connection to the broadcast. There won't be one, I stated. Father shifted his seat rearward. So that's final, you're severing us, on your marriage week. I'm severing entry to my funds, I stated. You always had entry to me, you simply didn't utilize it. I departed to the noise of blades slicing strips. No one pursued. I traveled residence, cleansed my palms of nectar and sparkles, and dispatched one last note to the messaging group. Journey specifics were in the package I posted 6 months prior. You can still arrive. If you opt not to, please avoid contacting me on the marriage day. No one answered. Within 60 minutes, Hannah shared a looping clip of yellow treats with the line, True Household appears. Mother noted, definitely. Father shared a positive thumb. I placed my device on silent and began preparing. We departed 3 days later. If you're curious why I'd stayed composed, it's because the strategy didn't rely on them. The site wasn't a venue hall in our town. It wasn't even on the primary land. 5 years prior, after a tough advancement and a reward that seemed unreal, I acquired a property most my age wouldn't even tour except in dreams. A beachside estate in Maui, 2 chambers wrap around veranda, a portion of horizon that appears freshly created each dawn. It was a spur. It was calculation, reduced rate borrowing, strong return leases handling expenses, fiscal approach that my coworkers still joke about during gatherings. I never informed my household, not because concealing, because the instant I'd disclose, it would turn shared, and I'd be queried how many kin could stay just for 7 days during high period. Mara knew. My nearest companions knew. My household didn't. So when Mother stated the baby celebration was the focus and they couldn't arrive, I didn't inform her the ritual would be at dusk, with the sea literally cheering on the stones behind us. I didn't inform her the guide would be Mara's former advisor, or that we'd entertain 20 individuals on the veranda with fresh fabric, bare vows, and a string instrument that silenced even Jake's past doubt in my mind. We arrived on Thursday. By Friday, our companions had packed the cooking area with blooms. Mara's guardians shed joyful drops when they beheld the sight. I cooked local fish in a cover that said Financier's Cook to precision. We practiced by chuckling. No one rehearsed eyeing the vacant seats. Saturday, I arose to several thinking of you notes and one from Hannah, a self-image with an inflated curve, sunlight celebration. Wish you were present to witness it, she wrote, as if unaware what the day was. I avoided response. At 5:47 p.m., Mara emerged in a basic gown with her locks up in sight that made inhaling elective. The horizon shifted a shade without a title, unless you labor in color shops. We exchanged our promises with grains under our soles. Our companions applauded and wept. The sea performed its role. During meal, my companion Elise captured images. She's a capture specialist who avoids the term material. She photographed the estate like a publication feature by chance. After speeches, she shared us a few via wireless. The embrace framed by trees, Mara chuckling on the stairs, me lifting her through the entrance with the sea like a challenge behind us. We shared 3, no lines, just images. We avoided marking the site. Our companions did that for us in their updates. By sweet course, the household messaging group, which had been silent on my side for days, grew red markers like an outbreak. I avoided opening it. I placed my device in a compartment and moved with my spouse. At 10:36 p.m., Elise murmured, "You're going to need to view this." She displayed me her device. Hannah's short update wasn't treats anymore. It was a display capture of our images. She'd enlarged on the waves and entered, "Where is this?" with 10 inquiry signs. Mother noted under a reshare from a relative, "Is this a retreat? Why didn't he inform us?" Father messaged me, "Contact me now." I didn't. We tidied, stored extras in the cooler and rested on the stairs hearing the sea make choices. Around midnight, I yielded and inspected my device. 101 unanswered calls. Audio messages piled like volumes you never intend to open. Mother, father, Hannah, relatives I hadn't contacted in ages. The terms merged in glimpses. Incredible. How could you? Your elder would be. Are we welcome to the follow-up gathering? This is harsh. Why are you concealing funds? Who funded this? You always believe you're superior. You caused your mother tears. Mara eyed me. I eyed back weary. What do you wish to do? She inquired. Clean our teeth, I stated. She grinned. Financier action. We rested with the openings ajar. The evening breeze smelled like brine and blooms. For the initial time and periods, my arms relaxed. Morning, brew on the veranda. The device was still warm with unanswered calls. I heard one audio from Mother because I'm not stone. Her tone was strained. William, you shamed us. Individuals are inquiring where you obtained the funds for this. You can't display riches and bar household. Do you realize how this portrays us? Contact me back right away so we can clarify you were rash and didn't consider fully. I chuckled aloud. Rash. Then father. Child, we nurtured you better than this. Hannah is crushed. You could have done the proper act and held the marriage somewhere ordinary where your household could join. You placed your sibling in a bad spot. Then Hannah, so you've been acting wealthy while we face hardships? Impressive. I hope your waves comfort you when you lack a household. I entered a sole note to the messaging group and dispatched. I dispatched invitations with all specifics 6 months prior. You opted not to arrive. You also attempted to enter my profiles without approval. That stops now. Please avoid contacting me again until you can regret without justifications. The scene markers arrived like small gray flyers. The relatives began private messages. Man, this is legendary. Felicities. A relative wrote privately. Proud of you. Avoid letting them twist it. Also that waves. One of Hannah's companions, someone who'd seen me quietly handle bills for years, sent me a capture of Mother's private complaints. I'd surprised them. I avoided involvement. I avoided clarifying the calculation, or the lien, or the lease earnings, or how I'd spent my 20s rejecting trips so I could affirm this. I avoided telling them the estate wasn't about showing off. It was the initial item I'd acquired fully for myself. At midday, Father finally wrote, We're arriving. What's the location? No inquiry sign. Mara pressed my palm. Do you wish them present? I imagined them on the veranda, nibbling at the edges of our joy, inquiring how much all cost while feigning they weren't. I imagined Mother positioning with the site like she'd merited it. I imagined Hannah requiring a repeat celebration before the sea. No, I stated, I wish stillness. I entered. We're on our post-marriage trip. Please honor that. He answered with a negative thumb. Mother sent. Unreal. The day developed without their shades. We floated. We rested. We consumed produce that tasted like the hue orange should taste. Occasionally, the device vibrated with another's view. I deactivated it. Back residence, something altered. Father messaged me 7 days later, less inflated. We must discuss some charges. Matters are strained. The familiar beat, suggest, request, hint. I dispatched him the contact of a dead advisor. He answered, So you're deserting your household. 2 days later, a relative informed me the baby celebration became a dispute. Hannah learned from someone's reshare where we'd been. She challenged Mother about concealing it. Mother stated William should have informed us. Father faulted Mara's effect. Kyle inquired if the residence was shared timing. In a tone that said he searched liens and grasped nothing. The world reorganized them without my action. Mara and I attended a film on a midweek for the initial time and periods. I rested in the dim, grasped her palm, and sensed an odd new ease. I'd anticipated sorrow. I received ease. I longed for the concept of a household I never truly possessed. The actual ones were occupied determining who to fault. Now that the cash source had a notice on it unavailable, I used to believe the proper mix of offerings, rescues, and tolerance would make my household perceive me. I believed if I simply continued appearing, they'd encounter me midway. That was my calculation mistake. I handled affection like a financing that would reduce if I supplied it sufficient installments. It doesn't. Affection isn't obligation, it's selection. I also used to believe departing would seem like banging a barrier. It didn't. It seemed like shutting a window that had been auto-updating issues for years. The site still exists. I'm simply not selecting it. 7 days after return, I rested with a writing tool and composed notes. Not digital, not messages, notes. One to Mother, one to Father, one to Hannah, one to Jake. Basic, straightforward, no comparisons, no warmth. I composed that I cherished them, and that cherishing wasn't a fund cap. I composed that I wouldn't handle any more charges, advances, crises, or brief small links. I composed that efforts to enter my profiles meant official reports, not household gatherings. I composed that I was receptive to a bond based on honor instead of fund shifts. I composed that regrets had to state we were incorrect, without however. I composed that if they required aid locating aids, I'd dispatch connections once. I posted the notes and reactivated my device. The initial contact I took was from Aunt Rosa. I beheld the images, she stated. I wept, not due to the sight, because you finally appeared like your existence suited you. The next was from Mara's father. Proud of you, child, he stated, and it settled in a place my own father never occupied. Hannah shared an update the following day, a spiteful image about funds altering individuals. I avoided response. Jake messaged you good. I wrote back yes you. He answered, improving on it. That improving on it conveyed more than anything he'd requested in years. Perhaps one individual will choose to exit the household system. Perhaps not. That's not an entry I plan for anymore. The estate. We're returning their next warm season with companions. Not to demonstrate anything, because I enjoy arising to the noise of a world that persists even when messaging groups erupt. We'll cook fish, debate table activities, and discuss nothing. I will not share a soul cost label. If you've read this far awaiting retribution, apologies. The sole retribution I sought was an existence that didn't need theirs. The sole report worth providing is this. In every space I occupy now, finance, shore, cooking area at late hour, I identify the tone in my own mind. It's mine. It's steady. It states basic things like no, not today. That's not my duty. Mother messaged last evening. We're prepared to converse if you're finished being rigid. I entered and erased a dozen answers. Then I wrote the sole one that suits. I'm prepared to converse when you're prepared to hear. I dispatched. I placed my device down. I faced Mara, who was marking tests at our Surface Crimson tool moving gradual and tidy. She eyed up. I didn't clarify. I didn't release. I didn't perform the old routine. Want brew? I inquired. She grinned. Yes. I heated liquid. We rested. We were. No act, no bill, no record. Just stillness, the positive type. I used to believe I'd be the poor child if I ceased paying. Now I know I'm just an individual who finally grasped the simplest finance principle there is. Safeguard your core. Everything else, everyone else, receives returns only if there's remainder, and only if they've merited it. I'm finished being a plastic in someone else's holder. I'm content, and I mean it when I say this. I won't allow myself to be exploited again.